Everyone, I want you to take a deep breath and become aware not just of the room you're sitting in, but of your awareness of being aware. Because today, we're not just talking about change. We're talking about the invisible intelligence that calls you forward before you understand why. You see, we live in a world that is both seen and unseen. And when I say God, I'm not referring to a figure sitting above the clouds. I'm talking about the intelligent, creative field that governs the stars, spins the galaxies, beats your heart, and breathes you while you sleep. Now here's the truth: when that intelligence wants you to evolve, when it's time for you to break free from a familiar but limited version of yourself, it doesn't whisper. It sends signs, and the first sign: discomfort, not chaos, not destruction, just an inner dissonance, that slight anxiety you feel when you're doing what you've always done, but it no longer fits. It's like trying to wear clothes 2 sizes too small for the identity you're growing into. That's the first signal your internal environment no longer matches your soul's expansion. The second sign: synchronicities begin to increase. You start seeing repeated numbers. You overhear conversations that feel like they're meant for you. Opportunities you never planned arrive unexpectedly. Coincidences stack not as random chance, but as quantum breadcrumbs. And if you're truly aware, you'll realize this is the field that divine intelligence, responding to the frequency you're starting to broadcast from your higher self. Third, you're being stripped. Let me be honest. Sometimes when God wants you to move, He allows things to fall apart, not to punish you, but to remove what you've outgrown. Relationships, jobs, environments, they may collapse, not out of cruelty, but out of alignment. Because if you don't move by choice, life will move you by force. And what feels like a breakdown is often the beginning of a neural, emotional, and spiritual breakthrough. Here's the fourth sign: you begin to feel restless, yet ready. You can't explain it. Nothing has changed, but everything within you has shifted. You wake up and no longer resonate with the life you've created. That's not depression. That's not confusion. That is evolution knocking at your door. Now listen closely. God never calls you forward without preparing the way in the field. But the quantum field doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to who you are being. So when those signs come, the discomfort, the synchronicities, the shedding, and the inner restlessness, don't ignore them. They're not obstacles. They are invitations. The invitation to step into the unknown. And here's the paradox: the unknown feels uncomfortable to the mind, but it's the only place where miracles happen. So let go of your past memorized self. Step beyond your predictable identity. Move. Because when you choose to trust that intelligence, when you align your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions with that new future, then suddenly, the universe starts rearranging itself. Not because it's magical, but because you're finally in coherence with the version of you God always knew you could be. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't need every answer. You just need the courage to say, I hear you, I see the signs, I'm ready to move. And when you do, life won't just happen to you, it will start happening through you. Discomfort is not just a random feeling. It is often the first and most personal sign that something within you is beginning to shift. It's subtle at first. Maybe it's that persistent thought that you're meant for more, or the growing sense that your routine no longer satisfies you. What once felt secure now feels confining. You're still functioning, still showing up, but something in your inner world is misaligned. That discomfort is not a mistake. It's a signal. It's the beginning of your soul pressing against the edges of your current identity, pushing for growth, for movement, for transformation. Many people mistake this discomfort as a problem to be fixed. They look for ways to numb it through distractions, through overwork, through trying to make the old life feel good again. But you can't fix discomfort that comes from evolution. It's not a symptom of something being wrong. It's a sign that something bigger is calling you. Your nervous system might resist it because it's unfamiliar. Your ego may panic because it's not in control. But underneath all of that, the discomfort is sacred. It's the earliest whisper from the divine intelligence nudging you out of autopilot, away from the familiar, and toward a higher expression of who you really are. At the biological level, discomfort arises when your current emotional state no longer aligns with your internal vision of what's possible. Your thoughts are still looping through the past, but your body is yearning for the future. That gap between where you are and where you're meant to be creates emotional friction. And that friction is not meant to be feared, it's meant to be noticed. When God wants you to move, He first unsettles the place you've stayed too long. Synchronicities are not coincidences. They are meaningful patterns arranged by a higher intelligence, designed to catch your attention. When God wants you to move, the universe begins to whisper through alignment. You start noticing repeated numbers 11, 11 on the clock, 333 on license plates, or receipts totaling 77. At first, these seem like simple curiosities, but over time, their frequency increases, and you begin to sense a pattern. This is not random. It is a reflection of a shift in your internal frequency. Your thoughts, emotions, and intentions begin to influence the quantum field around you, and the field responds in kind. These moments of synchronicity often show up when you are becoming more conscious, when you're stepping out of the known and into possibility. You'll overhear a conversation that directly relates to something you've been struggling with. A book will fall off a shelf with exactly the insight you need. You'll meet someone unexpectedly who offers the next piece of the puzzle. These moments aren't happening by chance. They are feedback. They are affirmations that you are moving into alignment with a future that already exists in the field of infinite potential. From a quantum perspective, synchronicities happen when your internal state becomes coherent, when your heart and mind are in harmony with a vision beyond your current circumstances. The field responds to that clarity with pathways, signs, and people that vibrate at that same frequency. When you are stuck in the past, you don't notice them. But the moment you elevate your awareness, the moment you begin to believe in something greater, the universe shows you you're not alone. These signals are guideposts from the intelligence that surrounds you, urging you to keep moving, to trust, and to pay attention to the alignment unfolding around you. There are moments in life when the things you've depended on begin to fall away. It can feel sudden, even harsh. Relationships dissolve, careers become unstable, support systems vanish, and the foundations you've built your life on start to erode. But this isn't punishment, it's precision. When God wants you to move, He often removes what you've outgrown. What once served your growth may now be limiting it. You may feel the urge to hold on, to fix, to restore what is breaking, but no amount of effort can keep together what divine intelligence is actively clearing. This shedding is not random, it's part of a deeper reordering. The things leaving your life may have aligned with your past self, but not with who you are becoming. As your internal frequency changes, when your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs shift, what surrounds you begins to recalibrate. Environments that once felt like home start to feel foreign. People you once connected with seem distant. Roles that gave you purpose start to feel heavy. It's not because you're failing, it's because you're transforming. On a neurological level, your brain is beginning to rewire itself for a new future, and in that rewiring, your external world reflects the inner change. The collapse of the old is often necessary for the new to emerge. The higher intelligence guiding you understands that true movement sometimes requires the removal of comfort and familiarity. Without those anchors, you are free to explore, to expand, to create a life based not on who you've been, but who you're being called to become. This stripping away can feel like loss, but in truth, it's alignment. It's the space being cleared for a higher path. The intelligence behind it knows what needs to be dismantled so you can be rebuilt with greater purpose. The unknown is the space where all creation begins. It is the realm beyond logic, beyond habit, beyond the predictable story of who you've been. And yet, it is the very place where transformation occurs. When God wants you to move, He doesn't always give you a roadmap. Instead, He invites you into the unknown, a space that feels uncertain to the mind, but sacred to the soul. The mind resists it because it can't control what it can't measure. but the soul recognizes it as the birthplace of all new potential. The known is your past, your routines, your stories, your limitations. It's built from memories and emotional patterns wired deeply into your brain and body. When you operate solely from that known space, you create more of the same. But the moment you begin to think greater than how you feel, to act beyond your familiar habits, you step into the unknown. And in that space, the quantum field responds. You are no longer repeating the past. You are signaling a new future. Stepping into the unknown requires trust. It demands that you let go of the outcomes you can predict and lean into the possibility of what has never been experienced before. The unknown is not chaos. It is raw creative potential. It is pure energy waiting to be shaped by intention, emotion, and belief. In that space, you are no longer defined by your history. You become available to inspiration, synchronicity, and insight. It's in the unknown that your brain fires in new patterns, that your heart opens to greater wisdom, and your body begins to align with a reality that hasn't yet materialized. When God calls you to move, it is often a call away from the familiar and into the mystery that contains the blueprint of your highest self, the quantum field. The invisible fabric of all reality does not respond to your hopes, wishes, or surface desires. It responds to your state of being, your thoughts fused with emotion, your internal coherence, your embodied truth. When God wants you to move, it's not enough to simply want change. You must become the person who already lives in that new reality. You must align not just your thoughts, but your energy. You must embody the frequency of where you're going, not where you've been. This field is intelligent. It is constantly reading your signals, constantly mirroring your state back to you through circumstances, opportunities, and challenges. If you think abundance but feel fear, the field responds to fear. If you speak of healing but hold on to resentment, the field responds to the incoherence. You can't trick it, because it's not responding to your words. It's responding to your vibration, your emotional signature, your consistent identity. To change your life, you must become the change. You must rehearse the future in your mind and heart so completely that your body begins to believe it's already happening. That's when you shift your electromagnetic field. That's when you attract, not by force, but by resonance. And that resonance is what draws the next steps to you. This is why so many people pray, hope, or visualize and still feel stuck. They're projecting one thing but being another. The shift happens when your intentions are aligned with elevated emotions like gratitude, love, and trust. In that state, your body becomes a magnet for what already exists in the field. You are no longer chasing outcomes. You are harmonizing with them. The moment your inner state becomes a reflection of the future instead of the past, the field responds accordingly. Breakdowns are often misinterpreted as failure, collapse, or regression. But in truth, they are part of the divine architecture of transformation. When God wants you to move, He sometimes allows what is false, fragile, or unaligned within you to break. Not to harm you, but to reveal what can no longer support your expansion. What feels like a collapse is often the nervous system shedding old programming, the emotional body releasing stored pain, and the identity dismantling what no longer serves your evolution. In the moment, a breakdown can feel overwhelming. Emotions surface without warning, thoughts spiral, the mind races for solutions that no longer fit. But underneath the discomfort is something powerful happening. Your old self is losing its grip. The identity you've rehearsed for years is beginning to dissolve, and what's left is raw space. Space to rebuild, rewire, and renew. From a neurological perspective, breakdowns are moments when the brain is interrupted. The familiar pathways are no longer sufficient to process new levels of awareness, and the emotional charge forces you to stop, reflect, and reevaluate your life from a deeper level. In that stillness, the possibility of a breakthrough emerges. Because once the old has been stripped away, the door opens to insight, clarity, and a vision that wasn't accessible before. The mind, no longer in control, gives way to intuition, The heart, cracked open by pain, becomes available to truth. The soul, no longer distracted by illusion, begins to speak with clarity. Breakdowns are the sacred unraveling of the inauthentic self. They are moments when divine intelligence disrupts your momentum to redirect your path. What breaks down externally is often just a reflection of what has already crumbled within. Making space for a higher alignment to take root your outer world is a mirror of your inner state. Every thought you consistently think, every emotion you habitually feel, every belief you unconsciously carry becomes part of the energetic blueprint that shapes your reality. When God wants you to move, He often starts by stirring something inside you before anything changes outside of you. That internal shift, subtle at first, creates a ripple effect. The desires become stronger, the dissatisfaction with the old grows deeper, and the vision of what's possible begins to emerge from within. Most people wait for external change before they feel different. They think they'll be grateful when the money comes or they'll feel free when the situation resolves, but in truth the process is reversed. You must first create the emotional and energetic conditions within you that match the future you want to experience. If you want peace, you cultivate peace within. If you want love, you radiate it before it's returned. This is not just spiritual wisdom, it's grounded in neuroscience and quantum law. Your brain begins to wire differently when you imagine new possibilities, and your body begins to emotionally align with a reality that hasn't happened yet. That alignment creates coherence between your heart and mind, and that coherence sends a stronger signal into the field. Your internal world becomes a magnetic force. It begins to attract people, situations, and opportunities that resonate with your new state of being. You are no longer reacting to life. You are creating it. The moment you decide to think, feel, and act as if the future you desire is already here, you step into a creative partnership with the divine. That's when life begins to move in your favor, because you've become a living embodiment of the new reality before it has physically arrived. Trusting the invisible is one of the most powerful and difficult aspects of spiritual and personal transformation. When God wants you to move, He doesn't always give you proof first. Instead, He invites you to lean into the unseen, to believe before there is evidence, to walk forward guided by a vision that only you can feel. This is where true faith is born, not in certainty, but in surrender. It's the decision to trust the intelligence that moves the tides, spins the planets, and beats your heart, even when nothing in your external world has changed yet. The visible world is simply the end result of what's already been created in the invisible. Every outcome, every manifestation begins as energy, intention, emotion. The moment you begin to imagine a new possibility for your life and feel it as real, you start broadcasting that reality into the quantum field. But there is a time gap between the seed you plant in your inner world and the harvest that shows up in your outer one. This gap is where most people give up. They doubt, they revert, they fall back into old patterns. But if you can stay consistent, if you can continue to believe, to feel, to act in alignment with what hasn't yet materialized, you accelerate the process. The unseen world is rich with potential. It's a field of probabilities waiting to become reality through your focused intention and elevated emotion. When you begin to trust it more than the limitations of your five senses, you move into co-creation with divine intelligence. You stop needing guarantees and start living by inner conviction. And the more you trust the invisible, the more the visible begins to shift, not because you forced it, but because you aligned with what was already waiting for you. Moving in faith is the act of stepping beyond certainty and into alignment with something greater than yourself. When God wants you to move, He asks you to release the safety nets of control and to trust in the unfolding of your highest path. This movement is not reckless. It is deliberate and grounded in a deep knowing that what lies ahead is more aligned with your soul's purpose. Faith moves you from being a passive observer of your life to an active participant in the creative process. Faith is more than wishful thinking. It is a powerful, energetic state that harmonizes your thoughts, feelings, and actions with a future that is not yet visible. When you move in faith, you signal to the quantum field that you are ready to receive. You become a beacon of coherence, drawing circumstances, people, and opportunities that match the frequency of your new reality. This coherence creates a magnetic field around you, where resistance begins to dissolve, and synchronicities multiply. Taking a step in faith often feels like walking into the unknown. It requires courage to leave behind what's familiar and comfortable, even if it no longer serves you. But this courage is the fuel that activates transformation. When you act from faith, you are no longer limited by fear or doubt. You are propelled by trust in the intelligence guiding your journey. You begin to see that obstacles are not barriers, but invitations to deepen your commitment. This movement ignites a shift in your nervous system, rewiring your brain to expect new possibilities. Your heart opens and your energy elevates, making you a living channel for change. When you combine faith with action, you don't just hope for a better future, you embody it. This embodiment activates a powerful cycle where your inner transformation creates outer reality, and your outer reality reinforces your inner evolution.